Hi, I'm Stevie Fernandez.
And I'm Trish Whitmer. Welcome once again to this week's Explore Tulsa.
This week, we get to meet a guy who's really kind of a lot like me.
How on earth is Jim Stovall a lot like you?
Well, he's a famous writer, he's a great public speaker, and he's had his hands in the movie business too.
Sounds more like he's the guy you want to be.
Either way, his story and road to success make an amazing story that only Jim can tell best.
For better or worse, television is the #1 recreational activity in our society, and if you cannot participate in that as a blind or visually impaired person, it's just one other thing that separates you from the mainstream. But all of a sudden, with just this extra soundtrack in between the dialogue, when you're able to access that, it's quite an emotional experience for our audience. I'm Jim Stovall. I was born and raised here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I had basically a normal childhood up into my teenage years, and my only ambition in life was to go on and be an All-American football player and go into the NFL, and I was well on my way to doing that when I was diagnosed with a condition that would cause me to lose my sight, and I realized there were no blind guys in the NFL. A few referees were concerned about, but no blind guys in the NFL. So I had to go on and do other things, and it's enabled me to do the Narrative Television Network and my books and movies and speeches and my syndicated column and all the great things I get to do now. Well, after I lost my sight, I didn't know what I was going to do. I moved into this little 9 by 12 foot room in the back of my house. I thought I would never leave that room again, and before losing my sight, that little room had been my TV room. So I had a TV and a VCR and my collection of classic movies, and one day out of just sheer boredom, I put on an old Humphrey Bogart movie, and I thought I'll be able to just listen to this and follow along. I've seen this movie so many times, and then somebody shot somebody and the car sped away and somebody screamed and I forgot what happened, and I got frustrated and I said somebody ought to do something about that, and that was the beginning of an idea to take TV shows and movies and network programming and add a additional voice to those, and out of that grew our entire Narrative Television Network. The initial reaction to narrative television for the people in the industry is they think you're crazy. You call up and tell them you do TV for the blind, and they have jokes like radio for the deaf and shoes for amputees and all kinds of funny jokes, But once we did it to blind and visually impaired people, it's a godsend. Blind people who've experienced the Narrative Television Network or some of our narrated movies have been emotional. I hear a lot of voices, a lot of tears, a lot of comments. I've never seen a movie, or I haven't been able to watch a movie in 20 years, or now I can enjoy television with my family. It's quite an experience, and it's great to do good business, and it's great to make a difference in the world, and when you can do both at the same time, you work hard and you sleep well. I write business books, how-to books, success books, economics, novels, stories, detective books. I write what I would like to read, and I'm embarrassed to tell you, when I could read with my eyes like the people watching us now, I don't know that I ever read a whole book cover to cover. It just wasn't a part of my life, and since losing my sight and discovering the National Library for the Blind and high-speed audiobooks, I listen to a book every day. There hasn't been a day in the last 20 years I haven't read a whole book, and becoming a reader made me want to be a writer, and I write the kind of books that are turned into the kind of movies that I want to consume, and so I am at heart more a consumer than a writer. A lot of people around the world ask me, why do I stay in Tulsa, Oklahoma? First, this is my home. This is where I was born and raised. And ironically, even as a totally blind person now, I know my way around town. People that are driving me, I can actually give them directions. So I do that, but Tulsa is a great place. I mean, the values, the things that matter to us are the things I write about and make movies about. And Ted Turner has been on our advisory board of narrative television since I started. And some of the best advice he ever gave me was to stay in Tulsa, similar to what he did in Atlanta when he started CNN. there was nothing in Atlanta in the industry, and everybody wanted him to go to New York or LA. And he said, had I done that, I would have gotten eaten up and run over and everything else. You know, you think about the fact that people are going to consume this product, but you don't think about millions, or you get totally intimidated. So I just think about one guy like me. When I was broke and scared and stuck in my little room, I think about me and the message I needed then, and my hope is that I can be that message for somebody else.